Hello everyone! Welcome to my overview of the new DLC and the new kind of patch notes that are going to be hitting with this new update coming out for Warhammer. So what I'm going to do here is go over all of the new stuff for the Empire and the Vampire accounts, talk a very little bit about the patch notes that are coming out, and then we'll also be showing you some battles with the new units, well some of them anyway, some tests I was doing. So let's start with the Empire here. We have two new legendary lords, the Arch-Lector and then Volkmar the Grim. And then for the Vampire accounts, we have three legendary lords, Helman Gorst, Vlad von Karstein, and Strigoi Ghoul King. And I'll be trying to go over them here, all of them. Let's start with the Arch-Lector. Stat-wise, the Arch-Lector I think is relatively good. His weapon strength is pretty low, his melee defense is really high, and if you stick him on a Barded Warhorse, also something else that changed, you can see the actual changes over there on the right side of the unit card, and it also is really good in comparing things like this swordsman to this swordsman, you know, stuff like that. So that's really nice addition. That's very, very intuitive. Way to go, CA. But anyway, for the Arch-Lector, the abilities here, we have Benediction, which is 8 leadership. We have the miscast chance of divine power in a 60-meter area, which is not too bad. Faith Bastion, which is something that the normal warrior priests of Sigmar have. But from there, things get a little cooler. This has the Grand Hammer of Sigmar. So the Hammer of Sigmar is a warrior priest spell which buffs themselves by 34 melee attack. But the Arch-Lector, for 36 seconds, has a buff melee attack for everybody around them. Same thing for the Grand Shield of Faith. Its area is increased even more. And then the Grand Soulfire, which is an upgrade of the Warrior Priest of Sigmar. So that also has an increased area of effect. He shares all of these abilities with Volkmar the Grim. Now, for combat, this Warrior Priest, this Arch-Lector, is not really like a Karl Franz. You're not going to be sending him out to try and assassinate enemy heroes. Since all of his buffs, including this Grand Hammer Sigmar, really focus on keeping your troops alive, you really want this person mixed with your troops so that they are always being affected by Benediction and then they can get the benefits of his spells. I would never, in most cases, send him away on his own to fight anything. He is going to be crucial to keeping your forces alive. Same thing goes for Volkmar the Grim, but also, real quick, his item, I don't know if this is going to be really worth it. The Mace of Hellstorm, it increases his armor, weapon damage, and splash attack damage for 21 seconds, but it's 200 in cost. And his weapon strength isn't anything to really write home about in terms of how legendary lords go. Even though he looks cool because he's carrying 2 Warhammers, which you think he'd be super offensive, but he's not really. So I don't know if this is worth it. But it's there if you want to take it. Ideally, I think I would run him on a Barded Warhorse for an extra 200 to give him 130 armor, more hit points, speed, and charge bonus. And that's what I do with normal War Priests. I always put them on the Warhorses. But 130 armor on a Legendary Lord is pretty good. Then we have Volkmar the Grim, which kind of has the same abilities as the Arch-Lector. All of his spells are the grand versions of them, and he also has Benediction and then Divine Power. His melee stats are unique because he's a magical and flaming attacker, which is going to be really good against vampire counts, which, go figure, that's kind of the theme here, because the flaming attacks will do bonus damage versus anything that has regeneration natively, just the actual regeneration trait, and then magical attacks can get through the physical resistance of all of the Wraith units. And he has a very high melee attack, just unmounted and on his Warhorse as well as his Barded Warhorse. But, and it's kind of similar, I think I would stick him on a Barded Warhorse if fighting against the vampire accounts. Because this War Altar of Sigmar, which I'm sure you've all seen it in the trailers, it's a giant wagon that has a cool griffin on top of it. It looks really cool. It costs a lot, and really the only buff you're getting here is that it causes terror and fear. It also grants him some bonus armor, but if you compare it to the Barded Warhorse, you can see a lot of his other melee attack, defense, and weapon strength stats are going to be suffering while on the War Altar of Sigmar. And so far, I haven't really seen a reason, like another combat reason to take this. It does also give him Unbreakable, I guess. But against the vampire accounts, I don't know if I would bring this. Because I think I would rather him just on a Warhorse, crushing things that have regeneration and physical protection with his melee attack. His just melee stats suffer so much on this thing. It looks really cool. I'll give you that. It looks really cool. He still has his, basic abilities. But again, as far as I can tell, the only thing you get is Fear, Terror, and Unbreakable. Fear and Terror don't really do much against vampire accounts. Unbreakable is nice, but I think I would stick him on a Barded Warhorse against vampire accounts. Against other factions, though, yeah, sure. Fear and Terror are going to be great. So you can stick him on the War Altar of Sigmar. So those are the new... oh, wait. Also, his item is really good because it's a Jade Griffin. I think this is much better than the item they give the Archlector simply because regeneration is great. So if you can give it to somebody, that's going to be great, especially if you stick him on one of his faster mounts here. He can take some damage, you can just pull him out a little bit, and he can regenerate. So this is a really cool item, Jade Griffin. Alright, so next up, let's go over some of the new units I have here. Let's start with the Free Company Militia. I try to organize these. There we go. So the Free Company Militia here. Alright, so these are a mix between gunners and your basic swordsmen. They cost 500, which, for what you get, I don't think is that bad. The stock version here comes with a Vanguard deployment, which can be pretty brutal, really. Especially since they can also hide in the forest, which isn't anything unique. But still, Vanguard is something I always appreciate armies having, so I'm glad that they now have some options here. But besides that, they are decent in melee because of their 28 melee attack, 25 melee defense, and their weapon strength is also relatively high. Charge bonus of 16, which is actually, I think, the same? Yeah, it's the same as these swordsmen. So, not bad. And I'm going to actually show you a video here against a unit that is not their ideal target, because I just wanted to know what it's like if you are up against, let's say, dwarves. So I'm going to put them up against some dwarven longbeards with shields, and they have high armor. Their weapon damage is not armor piercing, which is why I wanted to do this test. You can see they only have 2 armor piercing damage and 12 base damage. So let me actually show that video right now. The test videos are not going to have any mic audio over them, because when I recorded them, well, I wasn't talking because it was early in the morning and I was very tired and drinking my coffee. So here we go. I'm going to show you the video with the Free Company Militia.
Down, lads! Time for fighting! Free Company! Almost ready! Awaiting order. At once! Moving out! In without delay! Marching at speed! Now! Quick march! Death to the faithless! Stop the fighters in the head! As long as we draw breath, they will die!
So the Free Company, the shots did a lot better against those Longbeards than I was expecting. The high armor and the shield block chance, I thought the bullets were not going to be doing anything, but honestly, they did a lot better than I thought they would. So it may be viable to bring a Free Company militia unit in a fight against dwarves. Maybe it wouldn't be my first choice. The Sterling's Revenge, though, their renowned version, that is definitely a unit that I would bring against the dwarves, because their shots are armor piercing. So that's 14 armor piercing damage, and that's going to be pretty brutal to the dwarven forces. And they still maintain a even higher melee attack and a higher... Actually, we can just do this. This is so handy, doing this now. So this is a direct comparison stat-wise between them and the stock version of the Free Company. So you can see, they can definitely, probably hold their own in a fight against the dwarves and then any other high armored unit. But on top of that, they also come with immune to psychology, and the thing that I love the most, stalk, which is they are basically like night goblins. They cannot be seen anywhere until they get close enough to actually physically see them by the unit. But they do cost 325 more. Now, is the stat increase, armor piercing, immune to psychology, and stalk worth 325, you ask? Yes. That's the answer, yes. Let's move on to the... Gotta reorganize it here. The Flagellants, which is another new unit here. So the stock flagellant, a very high hit point, 120 unit size, so they're comparable to most other infantry. Their melee stats here, not too impressive. They have a very high speed compared to other humans. Well, for the most part, like the swordsman here, you can see they have 31. So they're a little faster. Actually, are they the same speed as slayers? I'm sorry, I'm curious right now. This just popped into my head. Oh my god, I got the screen. There we go. Okay, the Slayers got them beat. Alright, they are not faster than the Slayers. But anyway, besides that, I'll just stick here. They have a really nice charge bonus in terms of Imperial Infantry. They have really nice charge bonus, and their weapon strength is also really high. They are definitely a low-cost, kind of high damage-dealing unit with a high set of hit points, but they have 0 armor. So that's going to be, obviously, their biggest weakness. But what's also pretty cool is you get Unbreakable. You have Frenzy, which is a Beastman trait that they also now have. And it's only disabled if the leadership is wavering. But since they are unbreakable, their leadership is never going to break. So they're always active with Frenzy. And then they have this Strength of the Penitent, which is pretty cool. It's pretty cool. So for 15 seconds, this is just going to automatically proc. This isn't something that you activate. They will gain 12% physical resistance and then an additional 18 melee defense to their 10, which will bring them up to 28, which is kind of comparable mostly to kind of like a swordsman level in terms of defense. Still not amazing, and it only recharges if they're losing melee combat. So, you know, when you hover over a unit in combat and it says if they're winning, you know, neutral or losing slightly or stuff. So only when they're losing is this thing going to recharge. And it only has a 3-second recharge. So as soon as it starts to lose, this thing is going to instantly recharge and kick back in again for 15 seconds. So it's pretty unique. And I have a test footage here against them and Gores, because Gores is another kind of low armor, low defense, but high damage dealing unit. So I was just kind of curious. They do cost more than the Flagellants do, but I wanted to throw them up against that. So let's watch that here real quick.
Yes, sir! We obey! Come, friends! Pretend it is the head of a budget! Yes, my lord! Flagellants! Yes, my lord! Charge! Understood! Moving now! Ready!
As you can see, the Flagellants didn't do as great against the Gores as I was kind of hoping, but there you go. You get some combat with the Flagellants. Now let's look at the Tattersouls, which when you compare them to the Flagellants, you can see the changes they have. They don't have any unique traits, which other kind of renowns usually do, but their whole thing is 2,400 additional hit points, higher melee attack, and a slightly higher melee defense and much higher charge bonus. These things, for 775, to get just a insanely high hit point unit, that's pretty cool. Honestly, I have not tested them extensively yet, so I don't know if the cost increase is truly worth it, but just eyeing the changes in their stats, I'm going to say probably so. Yeah, these things, that's just so many hit points for an enemy to choose through. And since they're unbreakable, they're never going to rout, so like you can keep a unit busy for quite a long time or just deal a lot of damage. So the Flagellants, I think, are pretty cool for the price. 525 for a very aggressive, kind of like, what were those infantry in, like, Rome? like the barbarian factions were very high charge, very low armor. So I guess it kind of reminds me of those, kinda. If you played a lot of Rome 2. Anyway, so that is the Flagellants. Next on, let's move to one of the coolest looking cav in the game, Knights of the Blazing Sun. Their stats, let's actually compare them to, let's bring up a Reichsguard. Alright, so this is their comparison to a Reichsguard. The Reichsguard beat them in armor, but not in speed, melee attack, charge bonus, or weapon strength. They do have a slightly higher melee defense. Since they cost the same, I honestly don't know if it's ever worth bringing the normal Reichsguard unit instead of a Knights of the Blazing Sun. I don't know. They have the same amount of hit points. This thing is a little bit more sturdier, but I don't know. I have some test footage of the Blazing Knights, which I'm going to run, but let's go over the stats real quick here. So 100 armor, they do have the basic shield, high leadership, high speed. Their melee attack gives them flaming attack, and this is why they're so good, especially against vampire accounts. Because these things are going to be able to hit Crypt Horrors really hard, they're going to be able to hit Vargulfs really hard, Terrorgeist, if the Terrorgeist is on the ground, they're going to do really well, because flaming attacks do bonus damage to things that have regeneration trait passive. They have a 20% negative resistance to flaming attacks, regeneration units. Like, I'll just show you real quickly, in case you don't know what I'm talking about. It's like the Crypt Horror, this little icon here, you can see plus 20% resistance to fire damage. So if you team up, which I'm going to, if you team up a Knights of the Blazing Sun with a Bright Wizard, the Bright Wizard, one of their passive is this map-wide weakness to fire damage. That's a plus 32% additional fire damage that anything with regeneration is going to take as long as the Fire Wizard is on the map. So yeah, these Blazing Knights are pretty cool, but very high charge bonus. So I'm going to put through some of the test footage that I ran with them. It should be against Crypt Horrors, and then I'm going to run them against the Blood Knights just to see how much they can compare to one of the most elite cav in the game currently.
Slay them! Destroy it! We will kill them all! Slay them! My cameras! Battle! Ulrich will charge with us! Ulrich! Take their heads! Kill them! The rest will fall away! Drop!
Yeah, don't they look super cool? So the Blazing Knights against the Crypt Horrors, no competition. I did also test against two Crypt Horror groups. The two Crypt Horrors were able to pull down the Knights of the Blazing Sun, but they both still took a lot of damage, and I didn't cycle charge. So know that going in, that if you charge into just a giant group of Crypt Horrors, the Blazing Knights can still die. But man, they do so much damage to things with regeneration with those flaming attacks. They are so good. And then against the Blood Knights, honestly, I was kind of surprised. I thought the Blood Knights would kill them a lot faster because Blood Knights have anti-large. But no, like the Blood Knights are 1700. These are 1200, and they can almost beat the Blood Knights, which the Blood Knights are geared for killing cav like. Well, they're not basically geared for killing cav like this, and it was a much closer fight than I thought it was going to be. Let me just pull up those Blood Knight stats here. So the reason why they're not perfectly geared is because they don't also have an armor bonus. I mean, they do, but it's not one of their focuses. But still, like, I was kind of surprised. Knights of the Blazing Sun can definitely hold their own, and they look super cool. Their stats are really good. I think this is a solid unit. Also, I forgot to mention they do also have magic resistance of 40%. 40%. Though I doubt people would be throwing much magic at them anyway. But, you know, it's always nice to have. On to the Demigryph Knights. So this is the base unit. Let's actually click on the new Renown unit. So you can see the stat comparison here. For 300 more, you're gaining 11 leadership, melee attack, and melee defense. And then the other big thing is that this version has terror alongside fear. Against vampire counts, I don't think this is going to be a really worthwhile unit. The Demigryph Knights are already just so good. They are just so good. I don't really think you need to spend another 300 on them to increase their stats by plus 11 and gain terror. You can, it is up to you. Against other armies that do not have a bunch of terror immune units, this is going to work out a lot better. Terror is great, so then the cost may be justified. But if you're going against vampire accounts specifically, I think I would just rather, if you really want more stats, just, actually, let's see. For 1838, well, okay. I mean, I guess ranking up doesn't really do much then, does it? In this case. Huh. I don't know. That's up to you. Terror's pretty cool. Is it worth 300 for you? I don't know. The base Demigryph Knights is so good. And then next, besides them, we have the handgunners, and then the silver bullets are going to be the renowned versions. So let's compare here. They have higher leadership, higher melee attack and defense, which makes them decent melee combatants. They're kind of like a free company in terms of their melee stats, not their weapon strength, but they're pretty comparable, which is honestly pretty cool. They still don't have a shield or anything. And also besides that, the silver bullets are going to have a slightly higher range and slightly higher missile damage, but they also have magical attacks. Magical attacks are going to be really good against Savage Orcs and Wraith units from the VC. And I actually have a video showing the silver bullets going up against some Wraiths to see exactly how strong they are. Because Wraiths usually ignore a lot of physical damage, but not for magical attacks. So let's check that video out right here.
Come then, scum! I have unberoggen blood in my veins. Victory will be ours! Come, friends! Pretend it is the head of a Burgold-Meister. The Empire endures! In range! Shields up! What? Yes, Lord! Now! As they would us.
So yeah, those Wraiths, huh? They like almost instantly collapse. Well, not instantly, but a couple of salvos from the silver bullets are going to crush any kind of Wraith unit, including Cairn Wraith, or even the Hex Wraiths. The mounted version is going to do the same thing. It's just going to devastate them, and that's, I believe, what the silver bullets are for. Because again, this whole DLC is Empire versus vampire counts. So surprise, surprise, a lot of units and things added to the Empire are really good against vampire counts, including these silver bullets. I would definitely bring these if facing against them. Other than that, you can bring them if you want a gunner that has stalk. That's the other big thing that this unit has now, is a Stalk, but it does not have Vanguard deploy. Still, Stalk can be a very nice and nasty surprise against your enemy. So for an additional 250, I would say that the silver bullets are definitely worth it because of Stalk, and they're also increased melee efficiency, I should say. I think they're definitely cool. Next on, we have the cannon. Okay, so the Hammer of the Witches is the renowned unit for the cannon. We compare it here. You can see that the Hammer of the Witches has more missile damage, more ammunition, which is the things that really matter. It also has a higher leadership. The other huge thing is it too has magical attacks, and it has a bonus versus large of 100, which the Great Cannon does not have. So this thing for 400, yeah, I think against any army, bring this, because of this bonus versus large is huge. Huge bonus to damage. It's, yeah, I think the Hammer Witches is pretty solid. It also has physical resistance of 25%, which I guess is cool. It's cool, but you're going to be getting this thing mostly, I think, for its bonus versus large. Magical attacks are going to be good against specifically Vampire Count's Hex Wraiths. It's a very, I mean, it does work against some other units in the game, but that's, I think, going to be their most ideal opponent to fight. The Hellstorm Rocket Battery, and then the Sun Maker. So for 600 more, for 600 more, you get a Hellstorm Rocket Battery that, it does say it has more missile damage, but that is because it shoots 9 missiles instead of the base Hell Rocket's 3. It only has 6 more ammunition though, so this thing is going to be chewing through its ammunition faster, which can be a great thing. A lot of times you can shut down a Hellstorm Rocket Battery before it even fires that many shots. So since this thing just chews through ammo faster, it's going to be hitting a lot quicker and dealing its damage quicker as well. So just that kind of almost makes me want to say this is worth it. On top of it having flaming attacks. Flaming attacks, again, does bonus damage versus things that have regeneration. But I don't know. That is such a huge cost increase. I'm going to have to do a lot of testing with this. I do have a video coming up later, which you can see some of the damage it can do. And it does seem pretty extensive since it's shooting 9 shots per volley. I don't know. It may be worth it. I can't say for certain now, but 9 shots per volley, chewing through your ammo faster, so if the enemy arrives and shuts you down, you can get more shots off before they get there. It can be a huge thing. It potentially. You'll see more of that later. I think it... I'm torn on this one. I can't say yay or nay. Luminarch of Hysh. This thing, the Templehof Luminarch, always grab it. If you're going to bring a Luminarch of Hysh, I'm just going to say right now, bring the Templehof Luminarch. Who cares about the bonus to leadership and the bonus to melee defense? The thing about the Luminarch of Hysh, the Templehof version here, is that this thing comes with the net of Ammontok. You've seen how bad the net of Ammontok can really destroy your enemy. This thing just comes with it. It doesn't pull from your Winds of Magic. It has a 90-second cooldown. It is the base version, so you can't like overcast it to last for, I think it's 50 seconds. But still, this is like a free net of Ammontok. Or I should say it's 125, because that's the increase of cost here. Yeah, bring the Templehof Luminarch. Like, they made this like a no-brainer. Some of these may be situational. If you're going to bring a Luminarch Hysh, bring this. Hands down. Because it also comes with an encouraging aura, which the base one does not. So, yeah. Bring the Templehof Luminarch at all times. It's totally worth 125. So those are all the new units for the Empire, I believe. I'm just looking over here. Yes. Alright, so that is all the Empire. So let's move on to the Vampire counts. Oh boy, they got a lot as well. And they, man, so much. Okay, 3 new legendary lords. Helman Gorst, Vlad von Karstein, which is the one that comes with the free LC. You get Helman Gorst and I believe the Strigoi Ghoul King with the actual purchased DLC, the Grim and the Grave, right? Let's start with Gorst. Oh, buddy. Okay, so Gorst can pick up a unique mount in the Brothers Gorst Corpse card. To really understand how good that is, let's actually go over some of the new units for the Vampire counts here. They got the Corpse Cart, which has 3 different versions, and then the Mortis Engine, which has a unique version of it as well. So for the Corpse Cart, let's actually... I have them all here. Okay. The base Corpse Cart is pretty cheap. It's not really meant to be put into melee. It's just a buffing unit. And what it does is it does cause fear. It has regeneration, but also it has this Vigor Mortis. Plus 8 melee attack and defense to everything around it within 45 meters. For 500, you're getting a buff that is pretty good. If that's not enough for you, you can spend an extra 70 for the Balefire version. The Balefire version has the same Vigor Mortis, but then it also comes with a Hex that's going to reduce the power recharge rate to enemies around it. So if you can get this thing close to, I guess, enemy casters, you can lower their recharge rate, which is potentially cool. Potentially. But this thing is pretty weak in melee. Like, it can die pretty quickly, so you got to be kind of careful. And then, for an extra 150, you can upgrade this thing to the Unholy Lodestone, which also, again, comes with Vigor Mortis, but then also comes with Unholy Lodestone, which is a 45-meter area, only affects undead, regeneration. Oh boy, regeneration. I'm gonna show you that here in a bit. It can get ridiculous, but we'll get to that here in a soon. The other new unit is the Mortis Engine. The Mortis Engine is another kind of area buffer damage dealer, but unlike the Corpse Card, this thing can deal out some damage. It is drawn by Wraiths, so I guess because of that, they gave it a very low melee attack. Well, I guess 30 is not that bad. But it has a very, very low melee defense, only 40 armor. Does have a pretty high set of hit points, but this thing can be crushed by focus firing missiles. I think it does have actually missile. Does it have missile resistance? No, it does not. Okay. So if you bring some missile fire against this thing, you can't focus it down. Otherwise, it could potentially change the game. So this thing, its special traits, it does have fear, it does have terror, which is always cool, but it also has this binding, which is going to be another AoE regeneration that you can put on your army. It stacks with the Corpse Cart one. It stacks with the Master of the Dead trait from Undead. It stacks with Heinrich Himmler's unique weapon. Yeah. Again, I'm going to get to this regeneration here soon. But besides that, we also come with the Reliquary Corruption, which causes damage to combatants in a 45-meter area around them at all times. At all times. Then on top of that, you also have Blasphemous Tome, which is going to improve your faction's power recharge rate, so you can cast spells even faster. This thing is potentially a beast in terms of supporting your army. I think you're probably going to be seeing this a lot. But again, its weakness is going to be susceptible to crossbow and rifle fire. 40 armor is pretty good, I guess, but still, you're going to have to watch out for those ranged. It also does come with regeneration, so it will have a weakness to the Blazing Sun Knights and, you know, fire spells in general, but this thing is really cool. Oh boy. So now that we covered those new Corpse Cart and the Mortis Engine, let's go back up to Gorst. So he has a unique Corpse Cart mount in the Brothers Gorst Corpse Cart, because the Corpse Cart comes with a mix of the base Corpse Cart and the Mortis Engine abilities. We get the Unholy Lodestone, we get the Reliquary Corruption, which are both from the, or actually this is from the Mortis Engine, and then the Lodestone is from the Lodestone Corpse Cart, and then on top of that you also get Vigor Mortis. So you're getting the AoE damage of the Mortis Engine, and then the AoE replenishing of hit points from the Corpse Cart, and then also the AoE buff from the Corpse Cart as his mount, potentially, for only 375. That is pretty cheap. Again, just the base Corpse Cart costs 500. This thing only costs 375. You know what? Since we're on the subject here, the Necromancer can also ride either the base Corpse Cart, the Balefire version, or the Lodestone version. If you pump him with the Lodestone version, then you have a Necromancer that has the Master of the Dead trait and this Unholy Lodestone, both of which stack, and you can just ride him around. So I don't think you're going to be seeing many Corpse Carts. I think what you're going to be seeing are Necromancers and Necromancer leaders that are going to be riding Corpse Carts, because you bring them in for cheaper. It's insane. Insanely cool, I guess, for the vampire counts. So those are some of the new mounts with these Corpse Carts. They're really cool. But Heinrich Himmler? Nah, he doesn't feel like riding any mounts. It's fine. Maybe just lore-wise he never did, but he still kind of gets screwed over with the whole no mount thing. The basic Master Necromancer can still ride the Corpse Carts, and then of course Helmut Gorst has his own unique one, which I think is really great. Anyway, besides that, his stat it's okay. He's a decent melee combatant. He has a low set of hit points. His weapon strength is okay. So, I mean, he's a caster. That's what you're going to be bringing for. His other unique ability... Actually, I don't think he has a unique ability. Other than he just has regeneration, which the base Master Necromancer does not have. Right? Unless they gave... Yeah. So, Gorst has basic regeneration, but besides that, his other abilities are kind of on par with the Heinrich Himmler. His spells are basically the same, except... What's this? Awaken from the Grave. What is that? This thing spawns a unit of Graveguard once per turn, or if you overcharge this thing, it spawns a White King. So kind of like how the Beastmen got those cool spawn spells, and the Empire with their Amber Wizard. Now, Gorst here can summon a White King or a whole group of just Graveguard once a fight. It does cost a lot of Wizard Magic, but that's still pretty cool. So that's his kind of unique thing. Again, you can maybe turn off all these spells if you just want him to be a summoner. His item, we have the Liber Noctis. So this is going to improve his power recharge rate, and you can activate it so the ability recharge gets put down. It's 200. I don't know. It's up to you if you want to use it or not. But there's a lot of things that can increase your power recharge rate already with this Mortis engine and the, well, I guess basically just the Mortis engine. I don't know if it's worth it or not. It's pretty expensive, but, you know, it's there. The other hero, Vlad von Karstein, one of the other unique lords that have been released with this free LC. They get 3 of them. 3 legendary lords for the Vampire counts. Anyway, Vlad's melee stats, or stats in general, I think are pretty well for a melee lord. They're pretty good. 90 armor is pretty high. He doesn't have a shield, but that's okay. His leadership's really high. His melee attack and defense, I think, is really high. His weapon strength of 430 is also pretty high for melee lords. It's not armor piercing specific, but it's still pretty good, and a pretty decent charge bonus. On top of that, his stats are, we have the Curse of the Undeath, because he is a caster of the lore of vampires. We also have the Aura of Dark Grandeur, which is a minus to leadership in a area around him. We have the Hunger, which other vampires have. And then we also have Master of Beguilement, which can drop an enemy's attack by 46 for 36 seconds, which can be huge. That can be so huge. The spells, again, he just has Lore of the Death. Nothing unique there. And then for his items, we have 2 unique items. The Blood Drinker, which will also stack with the Hunger. So that's 2 regenerations that he has by himself. And then we also have the Karstein Ring for 158. So if his hit points drop below 20%, you can use this one time to get his health regeneration increased even faster. Yeah. That's 3 potential self-regeneration buffs on Vlad von Karstein that you can mix with Master of the Dead, the Corpse Cart, and the Mortis engine on top of that, and Invocation of Nehek. All of that stacks. All of that applies regeneration. Regeneration is so huge. But it's also kind of been nerfed a little bit, but I'll get to that here in a bit. So besides that, actually that's him. That's Vlad von Karstein in a nutshell. I'm going to show a video with Vlad and with the unique skeleton warriors. So let's actually jump to them. Let's move you over here, and then we'll cover the Strigoi King here in a bit. So the Kogenstein Stalkers, compared to a normal skeleton warrior, they are 300 more expensive, but they have 40 additional armor. They do have more leadership, more melee attack and defense, and on top of that, actually no, that's it. That's the biggest thing. I thought they had a unique trait, but they don't. But 40 additional armor for 300, I think, is pretty cool. Oh, wait, no, they also have poison attacks. Yeah, there we go. So they also have poison attacks. 60 armor, poison attack unit with decent melee defense and a high set of hit points, but I guess that's the same amount of hit points. It's pretty cool. So I'm going to show you a test video that I put them up against Chaos Warriors. I want to see how good they could pull up against a high armor unit, since they had poison attack to drop the enemy's attack down, and since they have pretty good armor as well. And in that fight, I'm also going to be showing Vlad von Karstein and showing how the Hunger and the Blood Drinker actually does stack.
Bow before me! I will with haste! On death's wings! Vlad von Karstein! Rebel fools!
So there you go. Not too shabby. For 600 cost, they kind of held their own against those Chaos Warriors, I would say. I think this is a pretty cool unit. They also look cool, I think, for the most part. So yeah, that's Vlad von Karstein and the Kongenstein Stalkers. Strigoi King is pretty neat. So the Strigoi King can have a Terrorgeist as a mount, and you can see the stat changes there. He gets increased hit points, he gets increased ton of armor, more speed. His melee attack is lowered a little bit, but he does also increase his weapon strength and charge bonus. But what's also cool about the Strigoi King is that even unmounted, his attacks are armor piercing, which is still kind of a unique thing for unmounted heroes to have an armor piercing attack, kind of. Of course, his attacks are also poison because he is a ghoul. And then for his abilities, we have Regeneration. He has Arcane Conduit because he is a caster. He's kind of a unique caster, actually. And then we have the Bloodlust ability, which is cool. I kind of like Bloodlust ability. And then the Curse of the Undeath, which, you know, the other Necromancers have. So he's unique because his spells is a mix of Lore of Death and Lore of Vampires. So he gets Spirit Leech, Invocation of Nehek, the Doom and Darkness, and then Soul Blight, Gaze of Nagash. I think those are pretty good spells from both lores. But his unique thing is Command of the Unliving. So how Gorse could summon Graveguard, the Strigoi King can summon a unit of Crypt Ghouls, or if you overcast it, a unit of Crypt Horrors to serve him. Yeah. Potentially pretty cool. And in terms of miscast chance, you don't have to worry too much because he does have regeneration, and there's so much regeneration in the vampire counts that even if they do miscast these overcast spells, you can kind of just regenerate the health back. So yeah, he's very unique. Being able to mount on a Terrorgeist, he does have the cause terror and fear. I think he causes fear normally. Yeah, but on the Terrorgeist, he will also cause, well, terror. So that is the Strigoi King. He, I think, is going to be pretty cool. You're going to see him a lot because people are going to love flying him on a Terrorgeist, I think. And it's going to be super powerful. And he can summon Cryptors. He can summon Cryptors. He is pretty expensive, though, if you put him on the mount. So those are the three units. I don't think I actually have a video of the Strigoi King. No, I don't. But I'm sure I will be playing him in multiplayer battles to come. All right. So back to the new units. So the zombies got a renowned unit, and they are something else. So if we compare them to the normal zombie, for an extra 100 gold, you could get over 2,000 hit points, and, you know, increase in other stats that aren't really that meaningful. But 2,000. That is insane. Also, they have physical resistance, 15%. That's not huge. But for 100, you get physical resistance plus 15 and 2,000 hit points. Yeah, you're going to be seeing the Tithe in probably almost every army that the vampire counts run. This thing is the tar pit unit of all tar pit units. It also has increased unit count, 200. Instead of 160, it has 40 additional zombies, which actually is probably where all that health comes from now that I think about it. But yeah, they're super cool and still super cheap. Why not bring them? They're great. We kind of already covered the Skeletal Knights there earlier, so let's move on. We have the Feasters of the Dusk, which is the Crypt Ghoul unique unit. You can see they do have increased hit points. Is it because they have increased units? No. They have increased hit points, they have increased melee stats, melee defense charge bonus, kind of minimal. But their whole thing is that they are Vanguard deployed and stalking, if you look down here. Stalk is always a great thing, and tied in with Vanguard deployment, I love Vanguard deployment, so I'm probably going to be trying the Feasters in the Dusk, because they're a very fast infantry that has Stalk and Vanguard deployment. Like, that is a nightmare for a lot of players who are going to focus like on artillery. You just come in behind them and just wipe out their artillery units with these Feasters of the Dusk, so that's pretty cool. The Graveguard have a unique one with the Sternsmen. The Sternsmen are pretty cool. They have increased stats here and there, which is not their main focus. Their main focus is that they have the Expert Charge Defense, which means that as long as they're standing still, nothing charging them is going to have their charge bonus against them, which is really cool. And something that mostly like only Bretonians have in like some dwarf units. But then they also come with regeneration on top of that. This can't be a strength and a weakness, because against the Blazing Sun, that could be a weakness because they have fire attacks. Anything that has a fire attack, they're going to suffer with this regeneration add-on. Anything that doesn't, though, this is pretty... Overall, this is a boon. This is a great thing for these units to have is regeneration and expert charge defense. They're just going to be able to hold the line even more. They're, I would say, worth the cost. Yeah. I would say definitely worth the cost. Then we move on to the Black Knight units, which is the Varix Reavers. They have increased leadership, melee attack, and melee defense, but they also have regeneration. That's it. That's their big change. I don't know about this one. For 200 more... Hold on. Alright, so even with a rank increase, like they... I don't know. I still don't know. Regeneration is great to have just natively, but there's so much you can do with regeneration for the vampire counts, I just don't know. Maybe. 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 I don't know about that one. Let's see. The chilling geists against the hex rates. The chill geists do also have some stat increases, which is great for the hex race because the hex rays suffer from a very low melee attack, so they can't get many hits off. But these chill rays have a 29, which is getting kind of high up there and a decent melee defense. But their whole thing is they come with this chilling aura at all times. They lower the speed of anything around them. This can be used offensively and defensively. I think this is a pretty cool unit. Anything that can slow an army down so you can either kite, run away, and regenerate maybe, slow down cav, like... Speed debuffs can be used in a whole variety of things, so I think that's pretty cool. They also come with magic resistance, 25%. Considering that's their biggest weakness, that's pretty cool. For only 150, you get melee stat increases, you get a chilling aura, and magic resistance, which is their weakness. So I think the chill guys are definitely worth it in most cases. Next on, we have the Dire Wolves, the Dire Pack. So if we compare them here, the Dire Pack has increased leadership, melee attack, and melee defense. But their cool thing is that they also have a bonus versus large of 14. So they still have 0 armor. They have a pretty low melee defense still. So I'm not saying you should like charge into an enemy cav head on. Definitely don't do that because they would still get wiped out. But if an enemy cav is either standing still or engaged in battle already, just put these things behind them and just chomp at their feet. And you're going to do a lot of damage with that bonus versus large. These things also, I think, are worth 150 in cost because of the bonus versus large. But again, they're not charge cav. Don't just charge them into cav. Only when they're busy doing something else do you charge these suckers in to finish them off. And then besides that, we move on to the Vargeist. So the Devils of Swarzhofen. They also have increased leadership, melee, and defense, which is always welcomed. But these ones have Vanguard deployment, and they also cause terror. More Vanguard deployment is always a good thing. The cost increase of 475 is kind of expensive, but to get terror, Vanguard deployment, and increase in stats, I think that is definitely worth it, and you'll be seeing those in the battle here soon. We already covered the corpse cards. The Claw of Nagash is the unique Mortis engine, and this thing also comes with the Hexwraith chilling aura. Besides that... I think it comes with magic resistance. Yeah. 25% magic resistance, which I guess is cool. But I don't know. Like, this one isn't an obvious take. The AoE slowing is pretty cool. Again, you can use this in a lot of situations. Is it worth 200? The magic resistance is kind of negligible, I think. Oh, I mean, I guess it does make it more resistance to, like, missile spells, though. I don't know. Some of these units are, like, obvious choices. This one, I think, is kind of... If you have an extra 200 to spare, you can mess around with this chilling aura. It has its uses. So with all that done, let me talk about some of the patch notes, because I've covered all the new units, and then we'll get into some more battles that I did. So for the patch notes... Only a few things I'm going to cover here. The cost of rank has been reduced, which is definitely the case. So if you take these basic swordsmen, compare them to a max rank swordsman. They can't buy any more ranks here. They only cost 260 more, and they gain 10 leadership, 11 melee attack, and defense. For only 260 more. Oh, you know what? Did I never... I forgot to compare the Sigmar Sons. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Alright, so the Sigmar Sons, renowned unit for the swordsman. They have bonus melee attack defense. They have Unbreakable, which is their big thing, which is why it shows 40 leadership there. They also have slightly more melee attack, or I'm sorry, weapon strength and charge bonus. But that's their whole thing. Their whole thing is that they're unbreakable for 350 more. Unbreakable is cool, but with these patch notes, you're going to see the Empire has a lot more ways to deal with, well, they have one more way to deal with leadership. So if you compare the base swordsman to just a max rank swordsman, which is going to be almost 90 cheaper than the Sigmar Suns, you get the same bonus in melee attack and defense that you would get with the Sigmar Suns. You don't get the charge bonus or weapon strength, but that's not a huge deal, and you don't gain Unbreakable. But still, I think just spending money on maxing a swordsman is going to be more cost efficient if you want to be cost efficient, if you're not just playing for fun and you actually you're like I need to win. I think your better choice is going to be, for the most part, bringing a max rank swordsman. Because, let's now dive into the patch notes. So, the cost of rank was reduced. As I'm showing here, this is so much cheaper than what it would have been beforehand. Non-rifles have an increased 5 range. So, that's going to be like your crossbows. Where's my crossbow? So, crossbow has 160. Then rifles across the board have an increased 10 to their range. So that's why they have 145 instead of 135. And then the only other thing that I thought was really kind of big was for the Empire. Go figure. Hold the Line and Blood Roar are now passives and not activated abilities. So like the General of the Empire, Hold the Line is now just a constant buff. They have 100% charge resistance as long as you're within 45 meters and +4 leadership at all times. At all times. I don't know if you realize how crazy this is. This is basically giving expert charge defense to anything around a General of the Empire, but even crazier than that, an Empire Captain. You can take off that. You can take off that. 579, you have a very basic unit that can still deal a lot of damage to most anything that's around them because they're a really good melee combatant. But then you have Hold the Line. That's insane. To make this a passive and not an activated ability, you have 4 leadership that's going to also stack with Encourage, and then 100% charge resistance. So what you're going to want to do, or what I think I'm going to do, is test this out. I'm probably going to bring a General of the Empire at some point. Or, bring Karl Franz. He also has Hold the Line. And why not? Throw him on his Griffin, because now his Blood Roar ability is a passive that's on at all times as long as he's on the Griffin. The thing is, though, they dropped the leadership. Blood Roar used to be 8, -8 to leadership. Now it's just -4, but it's on it all the time. So, that's crazy. So you can bring Karl Franz, Hold the Line, 100% charge resistance, and then you can just sprinkle in Empire Captains around, and they have Hold the Line as well. So you can have a whole front line that's going to have 100% charge resistance. Expert charge defense on any unit you want, basically, with that change in the patch, which I think, I saw that and I was like, you gotta be kidding me. You gave the Empire such a huge bonus. Because they're not really a charging faction. So they have a decent charge bonus, especially the Flagellants too. But for the most part, you can now just sit still. And this is even better for players who maybe can't micro as fast. They have maybe trouble giving individual attack orders. Well, just hold your troops there and just stick an Empire Captain behind them, because now it doesn't matter if they get charged by anything, because they're going to have charge defense, which is, I know I'm staying on this for a long time, but that's a huge thing. That's such a huge thing. So with the leadership issues, why I said that maybe Unbreakable isn't worth it, if you have an Empire Captain nearby, you're going to have leadership, you're going to have an Encourage aura, and then if you have just a Warrior Priest, or if you're using the Arch Lector, you're going to also have around them this Benediction, which increases their leadership to +8. With all of these things stacking, you can get these swords, because I tested this, you can get the Swordsman leadership up to 80, I think. Hold on. Yeah, because I tested it with Spearmen who have the same leadership. So you can get that up to 80. That is really high, and they're going to last for a long time, which is the only reason why I say the Sigmar Suns may not be worth it, is if you bring a Warrior Priest and something with Hold the Line that will support your frontline swordsman. It's insane. I think Hold the Line being a passive is borderline ridiculous. I don't think the Empire needed that kind of buff, but, there you go. That's in the game. And those are all the patch notes that I wanted to cover, the things that stood out to me. There are a lot more very minute changes to a lot of units throughout, like the Dwarves. Who else got? I think the Vampire Counts got some. But those changes are miners with blasting charges have +1 AP to their damage now. Things like that. So there it is. I know it's a long video, a lot of talking, but there's a lot added to this. And now for the end, I'm going to show you 3 videos. I'm going to show you a video showing how OP regeneration can be. Then I'm going to show just a generic battle between Empire and Vampire Counts, which is just going to be using their new units. I control the Empire, the AI controls the Vampire Counts. And then a battle where I'm controlling all of the new artillery units for the Empire against a Vampire Count army. And so just the end of this is just going to be a bunch of battles. But before we get to that, regeneration OP, I gotta point something out. So in the video, because I don't talk about it, and I don't talk in the video, I'm going to be pointing out that there's a little icon over here. It's a little cross icon. It looks just like this. So with the patch, they're also introducing a limit to the amount of HP you can regenerate, and that is based on the amount of hit points a unit has. So I'm going to show you how fast you can deplete that pool of regeneration hit points, and just how crazy and how many things you can get to stack on a unit for in terms of regeneration. There's like 7 things of regenerating that can be applied to one unit. It will make sense when you see the video. So I hope you enjoy the rest of the video. Again, it's just going to be those 3 battles. This patch is going to be crazy. I look forward to having a lot of multiplayer battles with a lot of cool new units and lords. Have a good day, everybody.
Decay. Heinrich Kemmler, serve me. All right, I will. Mortis engine. I will see to it. Ah, right. Everywhere is death. Very well. Beautiful decay. Right ends. Corpse cart. Beautiful. Decay. The summoning begins. All before us will perish. It will be. Still my beating heart. Necromancer. Holy now. Necromancer. Dance macabre, so much death. With haste. Lynx master. Corpse cart. Necromancer, this time, beautiful light. Light and a new order comes. Heinrich Kemmler. Beautiful. Their time has come. begins. The dead are mine.
Don't give them an inch!
Necromancer.
With haste!
Necromancer.
Hellish figure! Bow before me!
Beautiful decay.
As long as we draw breath, they will die! Blood of our heirs! Spellcaster! Enemy wizard spotted!
What do you want?
Mortis engine.
Blood von Karstein!
Ulrich!
So be it. Death follow.
It shall be done!
Sorcery! Ulrich's wolves charge with us!
This world is...
Bring them together!
Necromancer. By Van Hell's will. Life Necromancer. With haste. Their time has come. The dead are mine. British engine.
Blood podcast time.
Their time has come. Going forth.
Very well.
Beautiful. So much death. Everywhere is death. All before us will perish. Beautiful.
Hailstorm! The Temple of Lumina! The Emperor! General! The Temple of Lumina! Take aim! What do you bid? Stop! By Ulrich's wrath, ready for war! Spearmen! We serve
Yes,
the
General.
Emperor!
Sigmar calls.
Awaiting orders!
Hailstorm!
Okay! It's really done! Wise counsel!
Death to the enemy!
Temple of Lumina!
Moving out, sir! With formation, march! For the Warhammer!
Swordsman! For Heldenhammer! The Temple of Lumina!
Yes! Moving now! Go! Let's taking position! Seeking enemy! Emperor!
Guns
Yes, now! Yes, sir! Quickly! Marchers were to battle! Sir! Heading out! Sir!
For the Empress!
Standing by!
The Temple of Lumina!
Sigma calls! We obey! At speed! Understood! For the twin-tail turret! Pick them up!
Pick targets!
By Ulrich's wrath!
Pick your targets!
Yes, General!
Ulrich's team! Retreat!
Swordsman!
The Empire endures! Black powder blast!
We are ready! Sigma guides us!
Great cannon!
Sigma preserve us!
Lumina!
Quick march! My cavalry! Sir! For the Warhammer!
See to it! It will be done! For the Emperor! Sigma guides us!
No lingering! We are Sigma's elves! What do you bid? We serve the Emperor!
Ready for war!
Yes, my lord! Take the ground!
As long as we draw breath, they will die!
Fire!
Sigma calls! Ready for war!
Spearmen! Quick march! For the Emperor! We obey! For Heldenhammer! Keep
Ready!
your heads down, men!
Yes, General.
Casting spell! For Heldenhammer! Let's take the ground!
Sigma calls! Spearmen!